My name is Ava Garcia, I'm 28 years old. My husband, Michael, is 32 and runs an event company called Raku with his brother Daniel. My sister, Scarlett, works for Raku. It was through Scarlett that I met Michael and we got married. 3 months ago, we had our long-awaited child. Our days were supposed to be filled with happiness. Ever since I got pregnant, Michael started spending more time away from home. On this day, he said he'd be back in 3 days because of a business trip and left in his car. I immediately suspected it was a romantic getaway. Then, out of the blue, I got a call from the police. Michael had been in a car accident and was rushed to the hospital. When I arrived at the hospital, Scarlett was there, pale-faced, waiting for me.
Oh, Ava! I'm so glad you're here.
I was so worried, I didn't know what to do.
Is Michael okay?
Urged by Scarlett, I entered the hospital room to find Michael lying weakly, his body wrapped in bandages.
Michael! Are you all right?
In a feeble voice, Michael confessed, "I'm sorry, I was on a private trip with my lover. But I've changed my heart. When I thought I was dying, the first thing that came to my mind was your face, Ava. You're the only one I can rely on." He seemed to be putting on a front.
With a lover? Do you mean Scarlett? You can't seriously think that's going to fly. To say that Scarlett is your lover at this point, that's bold.
Then Scarlett looked at me anxiously. "Ava, do you think I'm the one? I'll tell you the truth. It might be hard for you, Ava. Follow me." She led me out of the room, and we headed to a different hospital room. I was shocked when we entered. Inside, there was a woman, just like Michael, wrapped in bandages from head to toe. Michael's lover is this girl. Her name is Grace Miller, my best friend. My mind went into a panic. But I might never know the whole truth. Because Grace, the woman said to be Michael's lover, was in a coma, in critical condition. Scarlett and I decided to stay at a nearby business hotel. There was no point in staying in the hospital room as the nursing care was thorough. And there was nothing we could do. Sharing a bed next to Scarlett, I wondered when was the last time we did this. "You must be tired, Scarlett. You can sleep first."
I'm still too wound up to sleep.
Since I got married and moved out of our family home, I hadn't had much time to talk with Scarlett. I think we've always been close since we were kids. During our student days, we'd lose track of time talking about our love lives and always introduced our boyfriends to each other. "How's Hannah doing today?" "Oh, Mom-in-law is taking care of her." I'm sure she wanted to come to the hospital too, but it was too late. But she might bring Hannah here tomorrow. Thankfully, since the accident happened while still in the city, we were able to rush to the hospital quickly.
Hannah is so cute, isn't she? She looks like Michael.
Yeah, especially her droopy eyes. If you hadn't introduced me to Michael, I wouldn't have married him and had a child. True, if you hadn't invited me to Michael's company event, we would never have met. You felt sorry for me being alone on Christmas, didn't you? Michael had been asking me to introduce you to someone for a while. You know, Michael loves the outdoors and has a lot of friends, right?
I casually mentioned that I also go camping alone, and he was immediately interested. At that Christmas event, he quickly asked for your contact information. You've always been cheerful, laughed a lot, and were popular.
Different from me, you were like a social butterfly. Indeed, as sisters, we were like the sun and the moon. I was always the life of the party, standing out wherever I went. Scarlett, on the other hand, had a warm, watchful presence. As sisters, being so different from each other, we're kind of like Michael and Daniel, aren't we? It's rare for brothers to co-manage a company, isn't it? First of all, the Garcia family is wealthy. Michael is the one who livens up everyone. He gives off a light-hearted vibe. Whereas Daniel is cool and always calm. Quiet yet with a strong presence. I was finally getting sleepy. Dealing with Hannah's nightly crying fits had deprived me of proper sleep. Tonight, I was free from that. I really want to get some good sleep.
Hey, Ava, aren't you curious?
About what?
About Grace.
Oh, that woman. I kinda knew Michael was having an affair.
Weren't you curious about who it was?
Well, knowing Michael, I figured it was someone from the company. He always seemed to have a thing for someone close to him. As far as I know, the women he's cheated with have been employees of his company or from event venues. You really forgive him easily. I can't understand that mentality. After all, it's your beloved person with another woman. I couldn't bear it.
Michael is a popular guy, you know. I was somewhat prepared for this when I married him. It's all about perspective. Michael may have played around until he was 30, but ultimately, he chose me as his #1 wife.
You really have a lot of confidence in yourself, Ava. The confidence of being not just any woman, but his lawful wife. What will you do if Michael chooses his mistress over you? Scarlett seemed unusually aggressive today. Maybe she was trying to defend her best friend, Michael's mistress, whom we saw earlier.
Well, now that we have a child, Michael has started to value our family more.
But even today, he went on a trip with his mistress in the car. And then, to have an accident and end up like that, hospitalized in the same hospital as his mistress, that's not normal.
But why were you there, Scarlett? Wasn't Michael on a romantic trip with that Grace? Did you go along with them?
Oh, right. Grace wanted me to come along. She just happened to have a voucher for a hot springs trip, so I just tagged along. But really, Ava, you should be careful. Grace is quite cunning. If you're not careful, she might steal Michael away from you. Now I was getting worried. Michael might never stop being a ladies' man, but creating a healing home where his true self can relax is my role as his lawful wife. That's a right reserved only for me.
Some women might blame their husbands for cheating, but I might actually prefer a husband who's popular. After all, people who are popular with both men and women usually have a reason for it. They have a lot of friends or many people willing to help them in their work. That's part of Michael's charm.
It's because you're beautiful, Ava. Scarlett seemed unusually heated. Do you really want to defend Grace that much?
Even if Michael leaves me, I still have a chance to remarry. Single mothers are quite popular, aren't they? I doubt I'll be the one to suggest divorce to Michael.
That's why you're underestimating Grace. You don't know what kind of woman Grace is. What her character is like at the company. I can't stay silent anymore.
If you're going to be so nonchalant, Ava, I'll tell you everything.
I wanted to sleep, but Scarlett's eyes were blazing. Looks like this might be one of those sleepless nights. But, chatting with my sister until morning might be nice for a change. Despite the serious nature of the topic. Then Scarlett started talking about Grace.
What's wrong, Grace?
I just made a mistake at work and got scolded by Mr. Garcia. Grace and Scarlett joined the company in the same year, making it 5 years of working together. Grace is hardworking but clumsy and not very efficient.
Don't worry about it. Everyone understands you, Grace. Nobody expects too much from you. That's why you should refuse tasks that are beyond your capabilities right from the start.
Then Michael showed up.
Crybaby Grace, how about we have dinner before going home?
At first, Michael invited Grace to dinner as a way to console her. The frequency of these dinners increased without others noticing, but Scarlett, being her close friend, was aware. This was because the number of times the three of them dined together also increased. Scarlett's presence was a way to camouflage it. Michael and Grace's relationship started before Ava and Michael got married. When Michael's marriage was decided, he and Grace began arguing in the office's conference room.
What do you mean you're getting married? You said you'd marry me, didn't you? And to a woman who has nothing to do with us. You said the person you marry has to bring benefits to you, otherwise there's no point in getting married. I thought that was clear. And now you're marrying Scarlett's sister? She's just an ordinary person. Not from a wealthy family, and her father's just a regular government employee. She's just a typical office worker. What's the advantage in marrying her? Ultimately, it's about looks, right? Scarlett showed me her picture, and she's quite beautiful, isn't she? But beauty gets boring after 3 days. Ava and I are on the same wavelength. Being with her is never dull. We both love the outdoors and she's surprisingly domestic, something I haven't found in other women. If I'm gonna get married, I want to be laughing every day. It might be idealistic, but a home full of smiles is my dream. I want to go camping and barbecuing with the kids, and enjoy events at the beach or in the mountains during winter. I decided to marry Ava because I saw that future with her. Really, I owe Scarlett a big thank you.
Do you mean to say I'm a boring woman? I've cooked for you before. But as someone once said, just because you try hard doesn't mean it's good. Grace ended up crying and left work early that day. She should have clearly ended things with Michael then. But Grace was full of lingering feelings. The playboy Michael changed after getting married, always rushing home, and everything was different. Yet Grace never gave up. At some point, Michael told Grace he'd marry her, so she clung to those words. But it never happened. Then, Grace said she'd be okay being the second woman, just to stay with Michael. If she couldn't be the wife, she was fine being the mistress, not wanting to leave Michael no matter what.
So, Michael and Grace were still together.
But now, after the accident Michael caused, Grace is in a coma, in critical condition. She might even come asking him to take responsibility. Then, Michael might decide to leave me to take that responsibility. If you saw the emails between Michael and Grace, Ava, you'd understand how serious they were. Saying this, Scarlett showed me screenshots of the emails exchanged between Michael and Grace.
Did you hear your wife is pregnant? Is it true?
Well, yeah.
Didn't you say things had cooled off between you two? In the end, you're just another guy who protects his family. I dedicated the best years of my 20s to Michael. There was talk of us getting married, and this is such a poor response. That's the thing, girlfriends and wives are different. You're just not suitable for marriage. Marriage is a lifetime commitment, sharing life, exposing even your weaknesses.
It seemed there was more to their correspondence, but I had enough and ended that conversation.
Just look at this last part, then. This is an emotional email Grace sent to Michael.
Scarlett insisted, so I briefly skimmed through it.
I've thought you were wonderful since I joined the company. Mr. Garcia, you're the admiration of all the employees. Even though you're the president, you never act superior, and when you get angry, it's always in a loving and instructive way. I know I'm not efficient at work and often a burden to everyone. Yet, Mr. Garcia, you patiently teach me the same things over and over again. I can't imagine a world without you, Mr. Garcia. You occupy such a big place in my heart. Even if I'm just a small part in your heart, it makes me happy.
See? This poem-like emotional email, isn't it painful? It's certainly not something a woman my age would write. Sending such a naive emotional email to a president, it's embarrassing, isn't it, normally? Grace is all rainbows and butterflies in her head, and her behavior is so obviously flirtatious. And so many men fail to see through that. I was reaching my limit with sleepiness. Of course, as Michael's mistress, there's more I should know. But for today, it's time to call it a night.
Let's just sleep for now. You must be tired from talking, Scarlett. Good night.
And with that, I drifted off to sleep. A month had passed. Michael was discharged from the hospital and was recovering well, rehabilitating steadily. Since then, he had been unusually kind and somewhat reserved around me. Perhaps he was scared because the affair with Grace had been exposed, and I hadn't brought it up at all. Meanwhile, I heard that Grace, who had been in critical condition, regained consciousness and was showing remarkable recovery. As his wife, I was contemplating how to address the situation between Michael and Grace. So, I decided to visit Grace in the hospital.
How are you feeling? Oh, you're Mr. Garcia's wife, aren't you?
Grace greeted me with a smile, without any sign of fear, which was somewhat unexpected. It was somewhat unexpected. My husband's carelessness caused the accident, and it resulted in serious injuries to you, Grace. I'm truly sorry. No, it's not Mr. Garcia's fault. The other car ran the red light and crashed into us.
I came here today to discuss the future.
I've heard about your relationship with Michael from my sister. It might not be my place as a wife to interfere, but I can't just ignore it. Our child is only 3 months old and will need their father even more in the future. I'm not asking you to leave the company, but please, end your relationship with my husband.
What are you talking about?
Grace feigned ignorance, trying to evade the issue.
I know everything from Scarlett. Please stop with the excuses. Scarlett told you that Michael and I are involved? Yes, that's right. You went on a romantic trip in the same car, it's clear. Stop denying it. Oh, is that what this is about? We were in the same car, but Scarlett was there too, right? Scarlett was just called in as a camouflage. That was me. I was the one called in for camouflage. Huh? What do you mean?
It's Scarlett who's dating Garcia, not me. Scarlett, afraid of her relationship with Garcia being discovered, made up a story about me and Garcia. She must have thought I wouldn't survive, being unconscious. She pinned it all on me.
Huh? Michael and Scarlett together? No way! But I did see the emails exchanged between you and Michael. And those heartfelt emails you sent to Michael.
Grace seemed hesitant, as if something didn't quite click.
Indeed, I sent my heartfelt emails to Garcia. But when I say Garcia, I don't mean Michael.
It's Daniel, his brother. I have feelings for Garcia, Daniel.
So, there's no email exchange between me and Michael. I don't even know his email address. But Michael and Scarlett, that makes sense.
Now that I think about it, the emails showing Michael and Grace's interaction. There was no mention of Scarlett or Grace in those. Emails can easily be forged. Scarlett must have created them to make it look like an interaction between Michael and Grace. This could be a strategy to have an excuse when caught. Also, the tone of those emails and the heartfelt poem email was very different.
It was all orchestrated by Scarlett.
I think Scarlett was probably jealous of her sister. I was close to Scarlett, so she used to confide in me. Scarlett was in love with Michael. I was into Daniel, and Scarlett was into Michael, so we bonded over that. Unrequited love can really get you talking, you know. Scarlett and I would often stay up all night talking about our love lives. But she always said she wanted to keep it from her sister at all costs. So, when things got risky, I would accompany them to prevent Scarlett and Michael from being alone together. You never know who's watching, and accidents like the recent car crash can happen. After feeling shocked, I decided to confront them directly with the anger bubbling up inside me. I repeatedly apologized and expressed my gratitude to Grace, who still had visible injuries, and then I left the hospital. When I got home, Michael was playing with Hannah. Grace's injuries were less severe, so she no longer needed bandages. I called Scarlett on my way and asked her to come over.
Why did a cute girl like her have to be born to a guy like me? I wouldn't allow her to marry someone like me, ever. It's complicated, having played the field and then having a daughter.
He could be carefree for now. But the real turmoil was about to begin. Scarlett arrived.
It's been a while since I've been to my sister and Michael's house. Nice, right? My sister gets to live in this fancy place. Michael really went all out. You know, they say it's better to get a mortgage when you're young, so it's easier when you're older. Preparing 3 kids' rooms means they're planning for 2 more after Hannah, huh?
Scarlett was clearly forcing herself to be cheerful. Her energy was unusually high. Seeing the family home of her lover, she might have felt the need to put on a brave face.
So, why did you call me here today?
If it's for Michael's discharge celebration, wasn't that at his parents' place? I wasn't invited.
Did you hear Grace regained consciousness?
Really? Oh, is that so? When? How is she doing now?
Aren't you best friends with Grace?
Didn't she contact you? From Grace? She's recovered enough to talk? Even though they said it was hopeless.
I went to visit her. And I learned some shocking truths. Oh, really? Maybe you should say it yourself.
Scarlett fell silent for a moment, then looked up determinedly.
You heard about me and Michael, right?
The atmosphere around Scarlett and Michael became tense.
I don't know how much Grace told you, but yes, Michael and I are dating.
Since when? Since my sister got pregnant, so about a year now. You know, my sister had morning sickness until about the 7th month and was bedridden, right? That's when Michael started feeling neglected and said he was lonely. I thought it was my chance. All my repressed feelings just exploded. I've been attracted to Michael since I joined the company. But he was always so outgoing and had great social skills, a real standout. I thought we were from different worlds, that he'd never notice someone introverted like me, so I had no choice but to give up. And yet, of all people, my sister ended up marrying Michael. I really regretted it. Why did I even invite my sister to that event? I never thought Michael would take an interest in her. He never had trouble with women, and there were plenty of others. Why my sister? I was so frustrated.
So, Michael was cheating while I was suffering from morning sickness. No, there's a reason for that. Don't just believe Scarlett's side. What? But Michael, you said it yourself. Coming home to no dinner, with Ava just lying there all day, what's the point of marriage? So, I shouldn't make it obvious by playing around with other women, and that's where I came in, right? You wanted to experience the guilt, thrill, and excitement of being with your wife's sister?
Scarlett kept looking to Michael for agreement as she spoke, but he didn't respond at all. In situations like this, it's better not to speak or admit anything too quickly, something Michael knew well from his past experiences with women. It's a classic avoidance tactic.
Michael, don't just stay silent, say something. Acting like it's none of your business, but this is all because of what you did, right? You're acting like it's none of your business, but this is all because of what you did, Michael? You know we're in this together, right? Sis, you wouldn't fuss over a one-night fling. But after all, I am her sister. Having an affair with your own sister, that must be shocking, right? What I can't forgive is not just that Scarlett and Michael were lovers. It's that Scarlett pushed all the blame onto Grace. I can't forgive her for fabricating the story, taking advantage of the fact that Grace was unconscious. I thought it would be less hurtful for my sister if the other woman was Grace. I've heard that many men cheat when their wives are pregnant, and it turns out to be true. How can you lack so much respect and dignity towards someone carrying your child? There's another human being inside her. It's normal to feel unwell. This is when a husband's kindness and consideration should shine, but Michael saw it as an opportunity for an affair. I knew Michael liked women, but I never imagined he'd go for his own sister-in-law. That's just too immoral. No, Ava, I'm truly sorry. I do feel bad, really.
But I don't think the term lover fits. It was more like an extension of a fling.
What? You told me you'd leave Ava and marry me. That must have been said under duress. I was completely drunk, not thinking straight. You kept insisting, divorce Ava, marry me. If you don't, I'll die, you threatened. Oh, saying it's a threat, that's not how it was. Michael, you understood my feelings, right? You knew since I was a new employee, I had feelings for you. You acted in ways that kept my hopes up, didn't you? Loving the attention, such a narcissist. Pretending to be in trouble, just to make me like you more. When I crashed the car and thought I was gonna die, the first thing I thought of was Ava and Hannah. Right? Because you first said, my wife, you're the only one I can rely on. Yeah, that really brought me back to reality, realizing that's how it was. We haven't been in contact since then. That equals a breakup. Michael, you're the one who blocked everything. You just weren't cut out to be a mistress. A mistress should never aim to be the first.
Scarlett started to say something but then stopped. Nothing she says can change the situation now. Michael thinks he's broken up with Scarlett and wants to start over with me. But me?
I didn't invite Scarlett here to watch you two argue. I wanted to make things clear here and now. I have no intention of continuing as Michael's wife.
Michael's face tensed up, clearly struck by my words. I can't help but relish this moment.
Think about it, who would forgive a husband who had an affair with his own sister-in-law? Just the thought disgusts me. I've let Michael do as he pleases until now. But when you blur the line between right and wrong, this is what happens. Wait, Ava, please. My true commitment has always been to Ava. The rest were just distractions making noise. Don't talk about divorce, we have Hannah to think about. It all started as a mistake with Scarlett and just continued on from there. Then why go on an affair trip with Scarlett while denying feelings for her? No matter what you say now, my mind won't change. I'll leave before we embarrass Hannah any further.
I left the house with Hannah in my arms, leaving a stunned Michael and a tearfully frustrated Scarlett behind. After I told Daniel everything about Michael, he fired both Michael and Scarlett. I always thought Michael would mess up someday because of his affairs. When you said you were going to marry Michael, I really thought about stopping it. But when I saw Michael showing a smile I'd never seen before, I thought, you're different from other women. I thought so, but with Scarlett of all people. I was wrong not to notice it, working in the same company.
Do you have any plans for the future?
Not yet. Hannah is still little, and I did apply for daycare for her next year.
Why don't you work at our company? We just set up a daycare on the first floor. I think they'll take priority in accepting Hannah, and they even take infants.
I decided to accept Daniel's offer. I got a lawyer to ensure I received proper alimony and child support from Michael. Michael and Scarlett were disowned by their families after this incident. With no money and the thrill of their secret romance gone, Michael and Scarlett quickly broke up. Despite Scarlett's professed love for Michael, it ended so abruptly. Without the spice of an office romance and being the sister-in-law, he just seemed like a bland man to her. The same was true for Michael. To pay alimony and child support, he's now doing physical labor, a type of work he's never done before. This must be quite tough for Michael, who's always treated work like an extension of his playtime. Meanwhile, Scarlett is working live-in at an inn in the countryside. Being raised in the city, she missed the neon lights and even tried to escape once. The price of their affair was high for both Michael and Scarlett.